My dear lovely students of grade 10, once again, students, I welcome you all to my English class. It's RK English YouTube channel. Students, today I'm here at Unit 13 again, reading to text we have that we are going to discuss in this video. Students, at Unit 13, we have reading to, and before the text we discuss, here we have question Number A. Have you ever noticed birds and animals migrating to new places? So here we have a text that is discovering migration, what birds reveal. So in this chapter, we will discuss about the migration of birds. Migration means students to relocate from relocate to new place means to move one place to another and to go one place to another. So this is what we call migration, and we will talk about the migration of birds, migration of animals, and why they migrate and where they migrate, and all these we will discuss in this text. And before this question, let's start the question. Have you ever noticed birds and animals migrating to new places? Have you ever noticed, students? Have you ever experienced the migration of birds? Yes, students, most often we have experienced these migration of birds in the winter time when we see some unfamiliar birds during the winter time. It means these birds are migrating birds, and we notice sometime a flock of birds flying in the sky and moving somewhere. It means they are all are migrating birds. So this is what we experienced in the winter time is called migration. And the second question is, why do you think the migrates? So what is the reason, students, behind their migration? Obviously, students, there might be so many reasons behind their migration. Every birds they want to in the colder time, the birds try to avoid cold because of the cold. They start migrating and to new place so that they can have better shelter and better food. So these are the reason behind their migration. And now text, you can see the picture, a flock of birds. They are flying from uh, one place to another, and this is the migration time. This is the winter time, and it's all about your question, students. Now let us start the text here. So here we go, students. A snow-covered forest in winter it can be quite pale. Please, students, a calm and quiet place, you know can be, if there is a snow covered place, can be a calm and quiet place. In the winter time, the place which we call quiet, it is a place which is covered with snow. In spring, however, this same spot is filled with the chatter and the calls of birds. But on the other hand, in the summertime, in the winter time, we can see these area is filled with the sound of the birds chirping and the chattering and the call of the birds. But it's totally changed in winter time as summertime. But in the winter time, this place is calm and quiet because of the snow all around the area. But in the summertime, there is a sound and the singing of birds and the chirping of birds. Lovely birds we can lovely sounds we can hear from bird. So it changes in winter, and but it's different in it changes in summer, but it's different in winter time. Where do they go during the winter? This is a question, student. This is the topic, and this is the migration we are going to discuss here. And where do they go? And why do they go is the question. In the past, people used to think that during the winter, birds slept in hole and that they're in the ground. In the past time, people used to think and what they thought, and they thought of that about the bird, that bird hide themselves in the hole and they start digging the ground, and they hide themselves inside the hall. So this was the belief, and I think this is a misconception and the biggest false belief among the people about the birds. Others thought they hide in the mud on the bottom of ponds alive but waiting for spring. So other people thought that the birds hide themselves in the mud and mud, students, wet soil, and they hide themselves and they wait for the springtime. So this was the another belief and another misconception we can say. And other claimed that familiar birds, summer birds transformed into other type of birds in winter. So some of them thought that birds change and modify. Okay, summer birds change, modify into other type of birds in the winter. So it was the thought and it was the belief that people at that time used to think about the bird. The truth is, in some ways, more incredible. What birds do during this time is migration. Students, I think this thought and this truth is, we can say, it's unbelievable. And the during this time is migration, but that this is the time for the migration, and they fly over land and ocean without a roadmap or compass to destinations that are sometimes thousands of miles away. So now it's migration time for birds, and they start flying over the land, ocean, and without having any plan, without having any direction, without having any, we can say, compass or any direction, any to their destination or goal, and that are sometimes thousands of miles away. But sometimes these birds can go thousands of miles away during their migration. So it's very amazing fact, students. How do they come to know about their direction without having nothing? They have no plan, they have no any navigation, we can say, and they have no idea about that, and even they travel thousands of mile destination. It's very amazing fact, students. So this is the first paragraph we have discussed, and the next is like marathon runners, marathon students who runs a race, and marathon runners burst pace is a speed themselves so that do not run out of energy before they can land. So they are always adjust speed, height, and flight path to account for changing wings, their own weight, and storm. So, like a marathon runner and marathon racer and birds, they adjust their speed and accordingly, so that they cannot lose their energy before they reach their destination. So they adjust themselves accordingly so that they can maintain their energy before their destination. They always adjusting speed, also height and the path for to account for changing winds, their own weight and storm. So there are some things, students, the bird consider during their migration, like their speed and height and the flight path and changing winds. So these are some factors that bird consider during their journey. And in the spring they retrace their path back to their summer home. So students, in the summertime they move back to their destination, their native place, sorry, destination, no destination, they move back to their uh, summer home place. In the summertime they back to their home and their native place. Each fall, about 5 billion birds migrate south for the winter from North America. So each winter, more than 5 billion bird students they move from North America to South in the winter time. nearly all 500 to 650 species of North American birds migrate. So near about students 500 to 650 uh, species of birds they migrate. They are the migrating birds of North America every year. Yet this is just one small part of picture. Student, this is not a complete migration, but it's just a small part of their migration. More than half of all the bird species in the world, approximately 5,000 species migrates, and in the world, students. More than there are half of all the bird species in the world, approximately 5,000 species migrate. So more than 5,000 bird species migrate every year, and each species is on a different journey, and each species is having their own different journey. They don't migrate at the same place, but each of the species migrate to their different journey. They don't migrate to the same place. Other animal species also migrate, including insects, amphibians, reptiles, fish, and mammals. So, students, except the bird, and there are some animals also. They also migrate, like insect, amphibian, reptile, and fish, and the mammals. So migration is happening all the time, students. It's a phenomena. It has become a phenomena among the animals and the birds. This migration is happening all the time around the world, and hordes of wild beasts arrive every January at green pasture on the southern Serengeti of Africa. Here is a place, students, in South Africa, a wider space which is called the Serengeti, which has pastures. And this is called a grazing land, and this place is having a wider grazing land and for the animals, so that every year thousands of wild animal beasts arrive here in the month of January. Yes, swarms of free-tailed bat arrived each March to caves in Texas, and Texas is a place, another place here, and which are suitable for the bat. Having without any tail. Free tail means not having tail. It's a type of bat species, and they arrive also every year in the month of March in the cave in the Texas. Texas is a place where they come every year, and to hide themselves, to keep themselves warm in the cave. Northern forest seal gather on Alaskans Iceland each June, and northern forest seal also they also migrate each year on Alaska Islands in the month of June. In September, Chinook salmon swims up rivers in Washington State. Chinook salmons also they also swim up in the Washington State. If you are in the right place at the right time, you can witness these amazing journey. Students, if you are there at the right time, if you visit sometime at the during their migration of these animals, you can experience and you can see all these amazing journey. And yes, yet no matter where you live, you can see some birds migrate. But students, one thing, no matter, it doesn't matter where you live, and yes, you can see these some migrating birds. But we can see, we I think you must have might have experienced and you might have seen migrating birds in your life. So most often students we experience this type of migration in the winter time. When we see some unfamiliar bird in our area, in our locality, then it means all these are the migrating bird. And in fact, some much of what we know about migration comes from studying bird. But most of the things and most of the knowledge we only get from the studying the migrating birds. So this all about your this paragraph, and move to the next one. Students, yes, not all birds travel from north to south. So it's not necessary that all birds will travel from north to south. Some travel east to west also, and some of them move from east to west also. So about bird migration, students, we can get knowledge from study only. Okay, and white wing, the soccer are diving dogs. They can stay underwater for up to a minute to grab shellfish from the from the ocean floor. So there is white wing squatters, which are diving ducks. They are called the diving duck students, and they keep themselves underwater for a long time, and so that they can fetch, they can seize and snatch shellfish at the bottom of the ocean. In the summer, they live near pond and lake in Alaska and Western Canada. In the summertime, these winged scotters, white, they often we can see them staying or living in Alaska and Western Canada in the summertime. In the fall, they fly to milder condition on the Pacific and the Atlantic coast. But in the winter time, they fly to the milder condition on the Pacific and Atlantic Ocean where it is less snow. Because there is less snow, that's why they move to those places, and other migrate. Don't travel very far for a big difference in climate. So other species they never migrate, and they do and don't travel very far long, and it's a big difference in climate. Instead of going north or south, they travel up and down. And the mountain birds such as brindles, titmice, and the mountain cicadas migrates about 1,000 feet to lower elevation. They move from high altitude evergreen forest to wooded valley and the stream. So there are mountain bird students also, like titmites and the mountain cicadas and the migrants, and they migrate to lower elevation height, that is 1,000 feet, and they move from high altitude, and they always move from the high altitude evergreen forest to the wooded valley at the streams. So they travel to the lower altitude height. Even within a bird species, more birds may migrate while others don't. So within bird species, there are some birds who migrates, but there are some other birds who don't migrate. Students, it means all the bird species never migrates. This is called partial migration. This type of migration is called partial migration. Robins are a sign of arrival of spring in the northern state. Yes, robin birds are the when they its arrival is the sign of, it's a signal of summer in northern states, because they migrate south during the colder winter month. Because that's why they migrate south area during the winter month. But when you move to the when its arrival in northern state, it means in spring, it means it is the sign of springtime. But some robin live year around in south, but some of them remain in the south. Some of birds migrate in non-stop trip, but some of they have non-stop trip, and others stop along the way. But some of them they stop in the middle of their journey and middle of their migration. Sea terns cannot rest for long on water during their flights over ocean, because they become water soaked. So sea terns also cannot rest for a long on water during their flight, because their wings may get shocked and soaked and wet. And that's why for more birds, tough non-stop travel is unusual. Most of the birds, it's very unusual. Unusual trip students, it's much more common for birds to stop along the way to rest fuel. And during their journey on the way, they start taking rest and start feeding themselves, and supply refuel means feed. Even a small cluster means bunch of bushes with berry can provide crucial energy for birds on the move. So during their journey of migration, students, when they start staying in the middle of the journey, and they want to have rest, and they want to feed themselves, what they find in the middle of journey, they find some cluster and bunches of bushes, where with the help of berries, and that can provide them critical energy for the birds on their journey. Birds may stay at stopover points for a few days, for a few weeks, depending on how much energy they need. Students, it's their stay and rest totally depend on their energy level, or they need, and they can stay here for a 1 week, for a 1 day also, but it totally depends on their energy level. They might also wait for better weather or wind condition for next leg of their journey. But there is another condition, that they might wait also better condition, good condition to travel, to move their travel to to the next journey, to make their next journey and track. Some layer sites attract huge crowd of migratory bird. 75-mile stretch of the Pellets River in the Nebraska is a gathering spot for up to 9 billion birds each spring. It's a layer. There are some. There can be some short stay. There will be some amazing sites also area which attracts huge number of migratory birds. There is a place which is 75 miles wide stretch, which is Pallet River in Nebraska. Is a place where every year more than it's a 9 million birds gather in spring. So it's a hotspot for the bird, and they stop to feed in the fertile wetland along the river, and where they stop they come and stop there and they start feeding themselves uh, you know in the fertile wetland along the river. Almost all of the world's sand hills grain numbering about 5 lakh spends about 6 weeks on the Pallets River. So on this Pallets River there are all around the world there are how many there are cranes numbering number of cranes are 5 lakh all around the world species, uh, 5 lakh in the world, and they stay here more than 6 weeks on this planet and pallets, so that they can take rest and so that they can have good food. Mostly they eat corn, which quickly add fat and the gets more ready for the rest for their migration. Most often what they eat corn. They eat corn and quickly because corn help them to add fat and get them ready for the rest and for their next journey. Once Korean have fed and rested, and they continue their northern migration to Canada, Alaska, and Siberia. So once they had their food, their rest, and then they start moving and to Canada, Alaska, and the Siberia. Some birds take long, perilous journey to each their destination, but some of the birds they take long and risky journey to their goal and destination. Many dog species and waterfalls travel from Siberia to Nepal to avoid cold. Thus, there are some many bird species, dog species, and they travel from Siberia to Nepal in order to avoid from cold. The migrating birds may travel during the day, at night, and both. Students, the migrating birds, they travel both in the day and the night. So they can travel in the night also. They can travel also in the day. Ducks, geese, and swans travel during the day and night. So ducks, geese, and swan, all these birds can travel during the day and both night and the day. Some birds that travel during the day can feed while flying. So that the birds who travels during the day they can feed themselves during the flight time. So how they do feed themselves? They swallow, eat, and sweep. For example, they can feed while flying, swelling, and sweep. For example, feed on flying insect while they travel. So during their flying, during their journey, and they can feed themselves by eating what flying insects. In contrast, some songbirds feed and rest during the day and travel at night. But there are some bird species who take a rest during the daytime and who feed themselves during the daytime, but they travel at night. It is thought that cooler and less windy condition at nights make better flying. So it is believed, and it is believed that during the night time it is very calm. It's very cool time, and uh, which makes them good flying, good journey, so that they prefer to fly in the and during the night time, but during the daytime they prefer to take rest and have feeding. Hidden in the night sky, the birds are almost. So there are bird students in the night time and night sky. The birds are almost invisible except for all the chattering. So maximum birds are invisible during the night time in their while they migrate. But there are some birds also who are noisy and who start chattering. We can hear and we can see them only when sunbirds pass in front of moon. They are visible. There are birds who are invisible only if they if they cross the moon, and we can see, and they can be invisible. In fact, moon watching is a way of counting how many migrants travel at time. Students, in fact, moon watching is a counting is a way of, it is another way of counting the birds, migrating birds. at night. During migration season, a moon watcher may see as many as 2,000 birds an hour. Students, during the migration of these birds, we can count 2,200 birds in 1 hour. If these birds cross the moonlight in the night time, and we can count during that journey, during their migration, 200 birds in 1 hour. So here, students, we have studies about the migration of birds and animal, why they migrate to a new place, and how they migrate, students. And we have discussed all the migration of animals and birds in this chapter. And students, with that, I come to an end of this unit number 13, and I'll be back again with a new unit and new exercise. And till then, students, keep watching me. And goodbye. Have a nice day.